What's up, everybody? It is Friday.
Wait, no, that's not true. It's Wednesday, man.
Oh, shit. It's early.
It's early. We're early. We're in Pinetop together with the rest of the High Rock team, and we're so excited to come to you. I am Gilligan. This is Jay. and we're the hosts of your favorite accounting show on the Rocks. Today we're going to talk about accounting and accounting related stuff, mostly as it relates to e-commerce, but probably not only and maybe not at all. We'll see how it goes today. Again, we're here for our High Rock retreat. We do this every year where we get the team together and we talk strategy going into the next year. So as we've talked about on the past few shows, it's that time of year. It's the time of year to talk about strategy. It's the time of year to talk about like what you're doing next and how to go forward and how to be better. And so that's exactly what we're doing as a team here. But that's not what we're going to talk about today, probably, but it might be. We don't really have a great agenda today. We're going to talk about whatever comes to mind. So Jay, I have already had some whiskey. I had a beer earlier. Christy's over here laughing at me. And right now, it's Two Hearted IPA. Source unknown, but fine. And in a small cup. So we'll see how that goes. I'll probably finish that in the next 10 minutes. So we'll see how that happens. Jay, are you having anything tonight?
I've had a couple of beverages earlier this evening. I am drinking water now.
Yeah.
But it's been a good afternoon.
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. It's always great to get together with your coworkers and the team that you care about, and especially to be able to focus on the things that you can improve. And so for me personally, that's been a really great experience today, because one of our main goals for today was to talk about our client experience and how to improve it. And then also to talk about our personal goals and things that we need to do to make ourselves better. And so again, like we talked about, like we've been talking about for weeks and weeks and weeks, like those types of things are so important to discuss because they can be so powerful in improving you and in improving your company on a going forward basis. And so it's really great to be able to spend the time to dedicate to doing those exact things here in Pinetop. Now, as we start to move on, right? What's Jay? It's been how long has it been since we talked last? 2 weeks?
It's been about 2 weeks, yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of things have happened. So let's start with some current stuff. Right now, in the Gulf of Mexico, we got Helen. What's her name?
Helene. Hurricane Helene.
Yeah.
Yes.
She looks like she's going to be Category 4.
Yes, it is.
That's a lot of categories. Jay, I know that you're obviously not in Orlando right now. But,
no, I'm not.
But if you were in Orlando, what do you do in a Category 4 hurricane? What's the procedure?
Well, luckily, the Central Florida area is not in the Category 4, area that will be hit by it. Yeah, if we're looking at the maps right now, all the models and the projected path are pushing it right at Tallahassee. Mm-hmm. We're actually just to the west of Tallahassee, putting it in that front right zone, which is usually the worst part of a tropical system. That is the part where the tornadoes come out of because of all the twisting that goes on in the air there. Yeah. So yes, I live in Orlando. My family's there, and it is on the eastern side of the storm.
Yeah.
Hopefully, it's not going to have as major impact there. They're looking at anywhere, and this is the Central Florida region.
Right.
Anywhere from 4 to 8 inches of rain, which is up from yesterday, which was 2 to 5 inches of rain. And the highest sustained winds of about 45, 50 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Which, it's going to be in that tropical storm range. I'm just sending, my thoughts to everybody in the path of this hurricane. Right. Now, for me, and we don't talk about that much here, but weather is one of my passions. I love tropical systems. I love tracking them and watching their behavior and watching what they do in those last few hours. There have been a lot of storms that have come through Florida that, when last year, the year before, is projected to hit north of Tampa, and all of a sudden it's coming across Fort Myers. So they're so unpredictable, and at this point, just everybody's got to be keeping top of mind what's going on.
Yeah.
The other factor this year is not only that I'm here and not there, my daughter was away in college.
Yeah.
So they're going virtual tomorrow. So she went home. So she's at home tonight with the fam and chilling. So all that's good.
Good.
We're keeping an eye on things because this is family weekend at her college.
Yeah.
So right now they're saying everything is on schedule. So we shall see, and I will let you know about that.
Is her college on the West Coast?
It is on the East Coast.
All right, so that's the less likely to be in the Path Coast.
Correct.
Nice.
It will have some of the least effects because it's all the way on the East Coast.
Yeah, and we would be remiss to mention, of course, like we've talked about this every single time one of these tropical storms comes up. Number one, be careful out there. Understand the situation that you're in. Obviously, if you're in the Tallahassee area, you know what to expect. If you should evacuate, get out of there. And then if you're a company and an e-commerce entity that's impacted by this storm, be thoughtful about what that means for you and what's happening next. I know this time of year is probably the worst time to have a storm impact your inventory management and your inventory movement. So be really thoughtful about where those things are and how much you can influence it, right? Be thoughtful about that. Be thoughtful about you. Be thoughtful about your family, and make sure that you're being as safe as you can. Now, of course, that's a very current event. But Jay, the reason that we haven't talked in a little bit is because both of us were doing some traveling.
Correct.
Yeah, last week, or not last week, sorry, 2 weeks ago, you and I were both at Camp A2X.
Yes, we were.
So we were hanging out in Toronto with some of the best minds in e-commerce accounting. And so, Jay, one of the things that I want to ask you is, we spent 3 days with these folks. Do you have a favorite takeaway, or maybe a best story, or a view, not everybody knows, right?
Right.
Let's give some insight here. What's the best thing about Camp A2X?
Well, the best thing about Camp A2X is the community. And
Right.
Let's just start with A2X.
Yeah.
We have the Jamies up there, Jamie McDonald and Jamie Schulman, and their head of marketing, Jeff Giuliano.
Yeah.
And actually last year here, we had Jeff and Amy from A2X on with us, as they were one of our sponsors last year, as they are this year as well. And that's why we are sporting the cap there. But, they brought in 60 of the world's strongest e-commerce minds.
The world's strongest. So that was from everywhere. We're not
Yes.
talking about just people from Texas or people from Canada. We're talking about anywhere in the world. People came from all over the place. There were folks from England, folks from New Zealand, folks from Australia, people from South Africa, just all across the world, coming together in one place to talk e-commerce. So Jay, sorry,
No, it's all good.
A great set of people.
Yes, and not only did we get to network with our peers,
right?
We did some collaboration. We had some mastermind groups at tables talking about specific topics. We got a peek at the roadmap for A2X and got to give our input there, and which was a lot of fun.
Right.
And it was great seeing what's on that roadmap, given what we've seen last year and what had come out between now and then. And the other side of that was we also did an inventory accounting / process workshop, and we workshopped from purchase order all the way through receiving, invoicing, etc., and trying to find out where these bottlenecks are and what we can do to help fix those bottlenecks. Yeah. Now, A2X in its current form, you have to load your costs in there and it will do your COGS calculations. But for some of our clients, we have to use an IMS or an inventory management solution.
Right.
Or some use an ERP. It just depends on the level that they're trying to achieve.
Right.
Well, there are a number of processes you have to go through to ensure that you have accurate numbers in your IMS so that you are actually booking your COGS correctly. And we work through all of that and try to come up with ways to streamline it and find other tools to make it better.
Right. And can you imagine that? Like bringing together all these people who focus on e-commerce related accounting to talk through the problems that they see and the understandings that they have around the entire e-commerce accounting process of inventory management. So again, from the beginning to the end, talking through where trouble points are, where problem points are, and bringing that all together to talk about the best solutions that exist so that all of these people can offer to their clients the best solution available so that everyone has the most effective service. Like to me, that was one of the most wonderful things that I've ever seen people do together is just bringing so many people with so many different perspectives together in one place to talk about something that causes such a problem to people, because inventory management and inventory valuation is such a crucial thing to entities, and especially in the e-commerce space. But it's something that people don't do very well because business owners don't always understand the implications of what that means, what that inventory management means. And accountants often struggle with it because it can be really challenging and it can cause a lot of problems. And so being able to be a part of this solution management, of bringing everyone together and talking through like what's best, what's next, what are your best solutions, what's best for you, it is truly just an amazing experience. Me personally, I also really love the poutine. So being able to sit down and have some French fries covered in whatever it is, beef gravy or something, it's always going to be an enjoyable experience, right? It's always going to be something that you enjoy. And then just like Jay mentioned, like these are people that Jay and I both were pretty lucky to be able to talk to last year, and so we were able to reconnect and talk again to people that are leaders in the space, that we want to hear their ideas, that we want to know what they're doing, so that we can do the same things or be just as good or better, right? Like we want to improve ourselves. So I'm really, really thankful to ATEX for the opportunity to even be able to get up there, to be able to enjoy that experience and to be able to share that with Jay and with the A2X team, and then with everyone that was able to attend as well.
I also want to throw in there that not only was A2X there, they brought in what are some of their competitors. So first of all, they brought in Zero, which has just really Zero Inventory Plus. Right. They brought in Finale Inventory. Chris, the CEO of the company, was there. It was great sitting down and talking to him. Hey, Chris, remember we talked about Zero. You need to integrate with Zero. Fathom Reporting was there. And Michelle Calkins from Sin7 was there. And got to spend a lot of time with Michelle talking through some things. And I just got a super appreciation for her because of everything that she is working on, and it was great to spend time with her, learn about it, and then see where we can collaborate. So, right. Michelle, I'm going to be talking to you soon.
Right. So obviously that was a wonderful experience. Now, shortly after that, I went on vacation. So I had to travel to a wedding. Like it was a tough thing, right? Like I got to travel to a wedding in the northeastern area. Like I went to Providence to hang out with some of my wife's family. To go attend the wedding, right? That was a great experience. It's always nice to be able to see people sharing love, right? Like that. That's always special, always unique. This was a new experience for me because I've never been to that area of the United States or the world or whatnot, and so I loved it. I love to get to do that. And then my wife and I plan to spend the week following, like traveling through the northeastern area, or kind of around Boston. And so I got to do some vacation timing in that area. And Jay, if you want, we can talk about that, or if you prefer, we can talk about your experience from last weekend. Yours had a lot of excitement as well.
Yes, it did.
Yeah,
but between A2X and my exciting weekend last weekend, I also had COVID. Yeah. And if you see me coughing, still got the cough, typical COVID. But last weekend was my annual trip up to Bristol, Tennessee for a weekend of NASCAR racing. saw 4 races in 3 nights, and it was culminated by the Bristol night race, and it was.
I'm gonna say right now, I didn't realize it was a night race.
Disappointing.
It was disappointing.
It was disappointing.
Oh, see, the night race in Bristol, like that's like, if you're a NASCAR fan, that's like the pinnacle, one of the pinnacles. Like it's one of the best races you can get to. Bristol's so small, so compact. Everybody's so tight. There's a lot of like
loud.
Yeah, it's so loud. Everything you think about in racing is there at Bristol because everybody's so close. The field is so compact. And everybody's all tight together, right? You get the like, in theory, and Jay can talk more about this, but in theory you get the rubbing is racing and the like bumping and the like grinding and everything that you like think about when you think about like a true NASCAR race, especially on a small track. But Jay, I didn't watch the race. I was busy doing other things, but you were there. And it wasn't like that?
And not really. No. So, and let's go back to your bumping and grinding. So,
bumping and grinding.
It's more bumping and running than bumping and grinding. Let's just talk about that.
Sure, that's fine.
But, and speaking of which, the Bump and Run live cast, another show that I do, so check that out. So,
Bump and Run.
We had 4 races, and 3 of the 4 had their first caution on lap 3.
Ooh, yeah,
so
okay.
It made for you anticipate it was going to be long evenings,
right?
But the action on Thursday was really cool. We had a really great ARCA race, which is one of those lower level races. A young man named William Swalach, he's 17 years old. He won the race and the Menard ARCA East Championship.
Wow,
17. I could not imagine doing that at 17, although I think I could have gone out there at that point and beaten some of those guys. Yeah. But and the truck race was fast. They had 1 caution, and then they had their stages. So that one went by really quick. And when you're knocking off laps in 16 seconds, it goes by pretty quickly.
I can imagine.
Now, the most anticipated part of the weekend was Friday night. For the Food City 300 because Dale Jr. came back and what was possibly his last NASCAR race.
Dale's son was racing. Dale
Jr. was racing.
Wow. Yes. All right.
And he had issues from the start.
Oh.
Pretty much lost his radio, couldn't hear a spotter. And they decided to make some changes there on an early pit stop. And he changed his helmet. That didn't help. So it comes back in. He replaced his radio. And then he dropped his radio and turned the volume way up. And he's like, guys, don't scream. It's okay. But still didn't fix it. So they had to stop again and change wiring harness and all that. And he still went to the back of the field 3 or 4 times. Ended up 13th. And what did he do? He ended up flipping off Riley Herbst. Gave him the bird. And being there with my scanner, I'm listening to the radio, and he's like, is he old enough to drink? Just tell him to join me for a beer after the race. And that was the theme after the race. Pretty much every driver dropped what they were doing. One driver finished second. He skipped his interview to go have a beer with Dale. We left there about 10:30. They left there after 2 a.m. They were all sitting there drinking beer up in one of the turns. They went through so much beer, they had to go to Food City and bring back more tubs of beer. It was amazing watching all of that and hearing about it.
How did you not get the invite?
I didn't get the invite.
Jay, that's tough.
Yeah, it really was. Because I would have loved to have a beer with Dale.
I bet. Yeah, I can imagine.
Even though, as y'all know, I don't drink beer. But that's another story. But
that's just me.
Here's why Saturday was so disappointing.
Tell me about it, Jay.
Last March, they ran at Bristol, and the tires were falling apart. They were burning these tires out in 20 laps. Ooh. They had to manipulate the cars to make them last.
Yeah.
So they got them to last, anywhere from 40 to 70 laps. They had 56 lead changes.
56?
56 lead changes.
How many laps is this race?
That was 500 laps.
500 laps.
Yes.
56 leads. That's what every couple
Yes.
Times around. And you said 16 seconds, right? So that's like every like 2 minutes you're getting the lead change.
Yeah.
That's pretty quick.
And they ended up having to give them extra tires because of the tire wear they were going through.
Yeah, okay.
They ran a tire test in July, and they found the same thing happening. Yeah. So the anticipation was, we're going to have tire issue.
20 laps, let's go.
Right. Yeah. And because of that, it's going to make the racing better. It's going to create action on the track.
Yeah.
And we didn't have any of that. They ended up going the last 170 laps on the same set of tires.
170 laps?
Yes.
So when they went 20 back several months ago, Goodyear like figured it all out?
No, they said they brought the exact same tire.
Really?
Yes. And they tested the same tire. So it doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Was the weather different?
It was a little warmer, yes.
It was a little warmer.
But they tested in the middle of the summer. So it was just as warm.
Wow.
So
what a bummer.
It's possible that the tires were mismarked in March. Who knows? So we'll see. But what happened was, first let's start off Alex Bowman, from right here in Arizona, took the pole. Thank you, Alex. He actually has scored the most points in the first round of the playoffs, and he finished 10th. His teammate Kyle Larson pretty much led 470 laps of this race and ran away with it. Yeah. And the passing was really lackluster, and they were pretty much driving around. But there was a lot of action because it was a playoff cutoff race, and some drivers have been eliminated. So we're heading to Kansas and the next round of the playoffs, and
we'll see how that goes.
Here's hoping Alex Bowman can pull off a win and move into the next round.
Yeah.
So looking forward to it.
Good luck, Alex. Good luck, Arizona. I'm sure that'll be great. And if I remember right, Kansas is a pretty wide open speedway.
It is. It's a mile and a half.
Yeah, probably not a lot of yellow going on there, but probably a lot of zipping around that track, getting pretty speedy. So should be a good race, I think, and exciting to hear. Exciting to hear next week what happened there.
The takeaway though.
Yeah.
By the time they were done with this race, Goodyear had already come out and said that Martinsville, which is the last race before the championship race, they are bringing the option tire. And for those of you that don't know what the option tire is, NASCAR runs a standard tire.
That's me. I don't know what the option tire is.
So they have a standard tire, and then they have the option tire, which is a softer compound, which means it's a faster tire, but it wears out more.
Oh.
So they are bringing that option tire as the sole tire to Martinsville.
Oh,
hopefully they're going to manipulate the racing and the cars by changing the tires.
Martinsville is a paperclip?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Half mile paperclip.
All right, so that one should be pretty similar to Bristol then. Nice and quick. And if that tire's softer, that means a little bit more like strategy, a little bit more thought put into it. Hopefully not 170 green flag laps in a row.
Let's shoot for 35 to 50.
There we go. That would be good. That would be good.
For sure.
All right. Well, Jay, what else did you do while I was off gallivanting around the Northeast? Any other exciting things happen in your world?
I did taxes. We're still doing taxes for 2023.
Oh, I didn't think about it. Congratulations to all of you accountants out there, all of you EAs and CPAs that have been working diligently on your 9/15 deadline activity. That was a week ago now, but we haven't talked to you in a couple weeks, so we missed that. I know that was a lot of work, and so congratulations to you all for getting through that. And more power to you for the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks.
20 days.
20 days. Can you believe that, Jay? 20 days to get through that final deadline, kind of, but it's a little bit extended, especially if you're in Florida.
We're not going to talk about that right now.
We won't. So another 20 days to get through that 10-15 deadline.
I think this is the 4th year that we've had a disaster extension.
Yeah. Well, and obviously, like, those disasters do cause a lot of issues. Like, we've talked about that, right?
For sure.
And especially since it's happening right now, when you would be in the thick of that activity, like, you have to worry about where's the rest of my family and all of these things. Like, it's really important that the IRS is extending those deadlines for people that are influenced and impacted by this. And so because of that, like, I think that's a great thing. But at the same time, like, for the rest of us, like, it's great to be finished if you can get finished, and to be finished in another 20 days would be lovely. So more power to all of you. I won't be doing that. I did my taxes a long time ago, and thankfully, I don't have to worry about that for myself right now. So good luck to you all. I'm glad I don't have to worry about it. Jay, one of the things that we've been talking about, or that has come up a couple times while we've been here in Arizona, is private equity. And private equity does a lot of different things, and it does a lot of things like really, really well. But one of the things that they've started doing that they didn't do before is investing in accounting firms. And so what we wanted to take a couple minutes to do, I think, is to talk through a little bit of like what those impacts are and what that does to accounting firms, or what that like might do to accounting firms, and whether or not that's a positive thing or a medium thing, or maybe like some challenges that you might come across. Jay, first, Jay, is that something we still want to talk about today?
Oh, you've already brought it up, so
shit. I guess we're talking about it then. Let's go. All right. So again, for those of you who may not be aware, private equity is exactly what it sounds like. It's equity that's not in the public space. So this isn't SEC related equity. It's not equity that's out there traded on the New York Stock Exchange or any of those places, right? These are individually raised funds that are invested into entities to give them financing, and to give them capital so that they can grow, so that they can expand, so that they can do what they do, hopefully and intentionally, more effectively. And generally speaking, like, the goal is to do that more profitably. So these PE groups, they'll come into a company, they'll evaluate the things that you're doing currently, look for solutions that can help to make your operations more efficient, more streamlined, and more cost effective, really. And then oftentimes they'll look to turn that around as an investment opportunity. So they look to make a little money on their investment. Now that can have a lot of different impacts. The first one, of course, is cost reduction. So when a PE firm buys a company, they often look to cut related costs, right? They look to identify the excess, to identify those areas where you're spending costs where maybe you shouldn't be, or maybe it would be better that you weren't, and look to like cut those things out. The purpose of that, of course, is to make the business more profitable, to bring back more return to the private equity holder. Jay, do you have any experience with private equity that way, or?
I don't have any personal experience with it, but there are other factors that also come into play. Sure. Because PE firms have a portfolio of companies that might be complementary to the accounting practices.
The synergy, right?
Right. So they might need an influx of technology. They might have a software development firm that might be able to help build some of those efficiencies for them.
Right.
They might have marketing firms that could help them, be able to market the services. So those are all out there and very good things for the accounting firms.
Right. Yeah. And so I was really talking about PE more broadly, but what you're talking about, like there can be those synergies in the entities that these private equity groups own, so that they can gain additional value. So they're not just cutting costs; they're identifying ways that they can use their portfolio companies to do that work for you, right? So that's all like under the same umbrella, basically, or to like help to support you through other entities that they own. Like you may do that very. What direction is it? Vertically? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So vertically, right? So an entity that like makes production, and the entity that buys that production, and the entity that's the final seller of that production, right? Like you can, PE groups are very often like buying in that way, or horizontally where they're buying competitors, like trying to consolidate them all together to take the economies of scale related to these, to say, when we get all of these places together and we bring them all together, we can do things from an administrative perspective that are less costly because they benefit all of these different companies in the same way. And so there's a lot of value in private equity in that way, right? but at the same time, there can be drawbacks. When I think about the private equity drawback, the first one that I think about is the that oftentimes there becomes like a difference in what like original management was doing, or maybe like the culture of the original company, and now what the private equity company is doing. And so those there can be challenges in assimilating companies into this new space. Um, Jay, do you have you read any stories or heard any thoughts about like how private equity can cause that kind of challenge?
Well, I have heard where they put some undue profit pressure and cash
Oh,
flow
sure.
pressure because they've made their investment, they want their returns.
Right.
So that is an expectation in any industry to
Sure.
possibly have that. So
Yeah, I mean, it can be so that can be a challenge, right? Like any time that you get put under this microscope, when you want to be able to make bigger, make better, make higher returns, like there can become a challenge in how you do that effectively and how you do that in the right way. Because sometimes the things that you may end up sacrificing are things that were really important to the culture of the entity that was there before, or the business processes that were in place previously. But at the same time, like there can be a lot of positives from that, like we talked about. Like you may be able to cut some things that you didn't need to do before. You may be able to find some value, some synergy in some of the things that you were doing previously that you aren't doing now. Um, one of the biggest things that I think, especially in the accounting industry, where there are some impacts from private equity, is in the like overall pricing of product. Um, and what I mean by that is that like when you now own several companies, you're trying to gain market share. You're trying to increase your overall revenue volume, so you can take advantage of those economies of scale that we just talked about. And what that can do is cause pricing pressure across the board, where firms that haven't taken on private equity money are now forced to consider their pricing in a little bit different way, because there may be some pressure or some updates or uh, some different strategies that may need to be employed because of the marketing that was done by the private equity support firm, or because the company is so large, they can make effective profits at a lower cost point. And so those types of things, while great for the market as a whole, right? Companies that are paying a little bit less, like that's a good thing. But for other accounting firms, that may be a challenge. That may be something that causes you a little bit of stress as an accounting professional, because now you're competing in the same space as these companies. And so one of the things, Jay, I think that's important to do now more than ever, especially because of this influence of private equity, is to define and understand truly your value proposition. And so I love that this has become then a circle back to what we're doing here in Pinetop, because that's exactly one of the things that we're talking about here at High Rock, is how we define our value proposition in the marketplace, and how we do compete effectively in that space, how we identify the things that we're doing that are better, more powerful, more effective than maybe some of our competitors. Jay, do you think it's important for, and maybe this is a basic question, do you think it's important for accounting firms to be focused on like the value opportunities that they have and the things that they do great, especially in this environment?
well, of course that they
Yeah,
have to. I mean,
right,
you build your value prop and your ideal client profile, and that is basically who you're talking to
right,
and who you want to attract into your pipeline. So
right.
yeah,
Yeah, and so that highlights too, like especially if there's a niche that you're really effective in, or an area that you're really strong in, or that you're passionate about. Focusing in that area gives you a strategic advantage, and so being able to do that and being able to be thoughtful about that can be really, really powerful in this time because of all of the other pressures that you may see. Holding out or identifying the areas where you're an expert can just be critical. Um, and so while there can be some pressure, some challenges that come that come out because of private equity investment across the accounting space, um, what that ultimately means is that you need to be more focused on you and understand better like what you do and how you do it better, or how you do it best.
And then figure out how to communicate that,
Right.
and share that, so the people you're talking to or you're marketing to understand what you do and what you are best at, and understand all the different services that you offer.
Right, and it can be so important to do that. It's really the way that you're going to be able to succeed. And so again, like to wrap that conversation up, really, I guess uh, it's really important to do exactly what we're doing here at High Rock, to bring yourself together, to understand truly like what it is that you want to do, what you're trying to do, and how you do that most effectively. Um, do you have any other thoughts on that, Jay?
Well, I want to say this is not just for an accounting firm. This is,
Right.
We want to talk e-commerce for a second here.
Yeah.
This might not be the time to do it because you have to plan ahead for your busiest season,
Right.
Black Friday, Cyber Monday. So you want to do this in advance. And, that's like what we talked about a few months ago.
Oh, yeah.
You want to start doing your strategic planning, first quarter, second quarter. And,
Right.
that's where you're making your plans, you're getting your purchase orders ready, you're getting all of your lines of credit ready, and you're getting everything in order
Right.
to have your product to sell in that last dash in the holiday season. But right now is the time you need to be looking at your finances and your financials and understand where you stand today, because there might be things you need to do in that fourth quarter to prepare you for year end. And knowing that your largest sales of the year are still coming, you might have to look at some, planning and some budgeting and forecasting.
Right.
But, the other side of that is let's do some tax planning too. Yeah. Because all that money's coming in, you got some profit on there, and we got to make sure that you're planning to pay the least taxes you have to based on your profit you make.
Yeah, that's right. And so those types of things can be really, really important, and especially at this time of year. And what we've said all along, and what we'll continue to say, is the most critical thing to do in this situation and at this time of the year is to find an advisor that you trust. Find someone who can do that tax planning for you in a way that allows you to truly understand exactly what's going on in your business and to make the best decisions for you. Find that advisor that you trust, that gives you that insight that you need to be able to make the decisions that Jay just described as we move into the time of year that's most critical to make those decisions. Like, be ready for that. Know who's helping you to get there. Know who's helping to advise you to get there. Think about those types of people and make sure that you've really identified a partner in that space to be able to help you along with that. What else do you think, Jay?
I'm thinking, did I ever tell you that I do taxes?
Jay, you do taxes?
Yeah.
Is that right?
I actually lead the tax department at High Rock.
Jay, are you serious right now? Have we not talked about this? Jay leads our tax department. What a wonderful resource that might be for you, especially if you're looking to do some tax planning or if you're looking to get yourself ready for the end of the year. Now's the time. Who's a great person to talk to? In my opinion, Jay. So be thoughtful about that. Find those people. Reach out to us at High Rock. We're here to help you. We want to be able to help you. We want to help you to be able to succeed in the things that you want to do. That's why we're here today. That's why we want to talk to you. That's why we want to highlight for you the things that are relevant to you today. And that's truly what Jay and I are both passionate about. why we went to Camp A2X, and why we're talking to you today about PE and accounting, about Helen in the Gulf of Mexico, and about Bristol. It's because we want to see you succeed, and because we want to be there to support you through that. Jay, are we gonna talk again tomorrow?
I think we are. Yeah.
Let's go. Tomorrow's pizza night here at High Rock, so I love pizza. I'm really looking forward to this. Jay is cooking the pizza out on the pizza stone, super fancy like. So I can't wait to see how that goes. I know we've talked a lot here about how Jay spends a lot of time with his pizza. So being able to experience that firsthand, super exciting for me personally. And so tomorrow night, I'm sure we'll come back and tell you how great it was, because there's no doubt in my mind that it'll be great. And who knows what we'll talk about next? Maybe it will be cough drops. Maybe it will be Helen. Maybe it'll be Crescent and all the cool things that they might be able to do for you. We'll see you tomorrow. And so thank you all for spending time with us tonight. And we'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Happy Thursday evening. Wednesday.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, I'm a day ahead again. What's up?
Thursday tomorrow.
Yeah.
Happy
See y'all Thursday, everybody.
Bye, everyone.